Now let me tell you something. When a country that once got laughed at starts becoming the punchline to your fears, you better start paying attention. See, people been sleeping on India for too long. Too long, and the moment you close your eyes thinking the tiger's still in the cage, that's when the jungle reminds you who built the cage. Pakistan tried to flex again. Thought it was 1947 all over. Walked in thinking they'd steal the mic, only to realize the stage was no longer theirs. And America sitting there in the corner like a substitute teacher, realizing the students just changed the curriculum. Because this ain't your granddaddy's India no more. This ain't no soft, spoken, barefoot revolution with flowers in one hand and a textbook in the other. Nah, this is digital muscle, satellite eyes, eye in the war room, missiles faster than your gossip, and this time it's personal. See, when you constantly get poked, you learn two things. One, who's doing the poking, and two, how to poke back so hard that they never raise that hand again. Pakistan, with its tired, outdated playbook, tried to throw dirt again. Border games, loud speeches, flashy press, but what they forgot was that India no longer plays checkers. It plays chess with quantum computing. You know what humiliation really is. It's not defeat. It's not even losing territory. It's being outclassed so bad, the world looks away because they feel second-hand embarrassment. That's what happened. Pakistan brought a slingshot to a drone fight, and they weren't ready. India didn't respond with noise. It responded with silence, the kind of silence that shakes your soul. No threats. No Twitter tantrums. Just action, a surgical, strategic, calculated operation that didn't ask for applause. It asked for silence on the other side, and it got it. Silence so loud, America dropped its popcorn. Now let's talk about why America can't handle it. Because for decades, America been playing referee in a fight they thought they understood. They watched from the bleachers, thinking India would always be the nice neighbor. That as long as the West kept both sides just angry enough, they could keep selling defense contracts and peace talks. But suddenly, India ain't asking for permission anymore. India ain't waiting for the West to validate its moves. It acted, and America didn't see it coming. You know what happens when a quiet student suddenly tops the class, breaks the curve, and builds their own syllabus. The teacher don't know how to grade them. And that's India right now. Too fast to control, too smart to manipulate, too proud to be used. Let me break it down for you. America's been used to choosing who gets to win. In business, in war, in narrative, but India ain't asking no more. It built its own satellites, its own weapons, its own billion-dollar startups. India made peace with the East, made deals with the Middle East, and stared down the West without blinking. And when the border got touched again, India didn't write a complaint letter. It didn't call CNN. It didn't organize a press conference. It acted fast, quiet, precise, and most of all it won. See, real power don't announce itself with parades. It walks in with receipts. India walked into that situation with receipts taller than the Himalayas. Intel backed by AI. Defense backed by indigenous tech, a plan 10 steps ahead of the headlines, and the result. Pakistan humiliated without a single bullet needing to go viral. You ever seen a bully get hit so hard? The school nurse just leaves early. That's what happened. India didn't fight a war. It taught a lesson. And while the world expected chaos, what they got was clarity. And here's the thing that clarity made folks uncomfortable. Because now they can't paint India as the struggling underdog anymore. Nah. That narrative expired. India's not asking for sympathy. It's demanding respect. Let me say that again for the folks in the back, respect, and not the kind you beg for, the kind that's earned. Pakistan tried to stir the pot, not realizing India already owns the kitchen. Every time Pakistan tried to wave that old Kashmir flag like it was 1999, India responded with silence backed by satellites, cyber defense, smart weapons, and global support. That's not just military growth, that's legacy in motion. And America sat there stunned, because the playbook didn't work. They tried calling the usual plays meetings, statements, pressure, but India didn't flinch. It smiled, nodded, and continued building. That scares them, because how do you manage a rising power that don't need your charity? See, here's what most people don't understand. Humiliation isn't just public embarrassment. It's realizing that everything you thought you knew about someone was wrong. It's watching your assumptions collapse, and for Pakistan, that collapse was televised. For America, it was an existential crisis, because the balance they thought they controlled, poof, gone. India humiliated Pakistan with precision. No fireworks, just facts. No shouting, just strategy. That's what real power looks like. But let's pause, because this speech ain't just about geopolitics. It's about you. How many of you been underestimated like India? How many of you been called weak, told you ain't ready, watched others laugh while you were building silently in the background? Let this moment teach you something. Humiliation only works if you accept it. Power shows up when you refuse to be who they expect you to be. India said no more to old labels, and you can too. You can be the one they forgot about, until they realize you built the room they're standing in. You can be the one who doesn't brag but lets results do the talking. You can be the one who was ignored but now signs the checks. When people see you rising, they'll either celebrate or panic. Don't worry about which they choose. You just keep rising, just like India did. Don't clap back with noise. Clap back with legacy. India's humiliation of Pakistan wasn't personal. It was evolutionary. It wasn't about revenge. It was about rewriting the future. That's what greatness does. It doesn't fight small fights. It builds such a towering truth that even lies have to take the stairs. And America ain't mad. It's scared. Because when the narrative breaks, the business breaks. They sold the world a story. India just flipped the book, and it's writing a new chapter with 1 billion pens. So the next time someone tells you that power has to be loud, remember India. When they say dominance needs aggression, remember India. When they say you gotta beg for approval, remember India. And when they say you can't rise without help, smile and build anyway. Because one day you'll move so boldly, so smartly, so precisely, that the people who used to doubt you won't just notice, they'll be forced to reckon with you. Just like Pakistan had to. Just like America is learning to. Keep building. Keep rising. Keep stunning them with silence and shaking them with results. That's what India just did. And so can you. Would you like this formatted as a YouTube script, with narrator cues and dramatic pause indicators next? India didn't need to shout. It didn't need to flex its muscle through chest, thumping speeches, or fiery headlines. It simply acted methodically, surgically, and without seeking applause, and that action was not aggression. It was deterrence. Not the kind of deterrence built on threats or dramatics, but one wrapped in dignity, rooted in control, and driven by deep, homegrown innovation. That moment, when India chose restraint backed by capability instead of reaction driven by anger, marked the silent birth of a new military doctrine, not one borrowed, but one built. Built in the labs of Bengaluru, in the code of Hyderabad, in the DRDO test ranges, in the dark halls of India's cyber cells, in the silence of its space satellites, and in the dignity of a country tired of being provoked. Pakistan made a miscalculation not militarily, but mentally. It banked on the old India, the India that once responded emotionally. But this new India didn't just upgrade its weapons, it upgraded its mindset. When the world expected retaliation in the form of warfare, India responded with a doctrine the world hadn't seen before, a doctrine that was silent but firm, sharp but measured. India did not escalate tensions because it understood something its adversaries hadn't learned yet, that true power lies not in making noise, but in making choices that leave no room for ambiguity. This wasn't restraint out of weakness. It was strategy born from strength, the strength to remain calm when provoked, the strength to let innovation speak louder than rhetoric, the strength to let data, precision, and technological dominance set the tone instead of public outrage. The operation that followed wasn't just military, it was symbolic. It told Pakistan and the world that India had moved beyond the politics of reaction. It had entered the era of assertion through precision. India had studied the patterns decades of provocations, global inaction, Western interference, and regional instability, and decided it would no longer be part of that cycle. The new military doctrine wasn't just about missiles and tanks. It was about surveillance that sees through deception. It was about cyber capabilities that neutralize threats before they're launched. It was about satellites that map enemy movement with millimeter-level accuracy. It was about indigenous defense systems that didn't wait for foreign validation. India didn't need a coalition to defend itself. It had already formed an alliance with its own intellect. The humiliation dealt to Pakistan was not through firepower, but through structure, through process, through the unveiling of a military posture so refined that every move was premeditated 10 steps ahead, and that posture came from one singular philosophy, deterrence rooted in dignity, because India understood that responding like the aggressor only plays into the hands of the provocateur. But when you hold fire with the calm confidence of a nation that has already secured dominance, you not only neutralize your enemy, you confuse them. They don't know what to expect, and unpredictability is the ultimate weapon. Pakistan expected noise, and they got silence. Pakistan expected retaliation, and they got results. Pakistan expected another shouting match on global forums, and they got silence in their own backyard. That silence was not emptiness, it was filled with precision airstrikes, cyber dismantling, digital warfare so quiet that by the time they noticed it was already over, and it was filled with something even more profound, restraint. Restraint powered by technology, restraint built from confidence. America, watching this unfold, didn't know what to do with this new India. The usual pressure tactics didn't apply. The expected diplomatic scripts didn't fit. Because India didn't retaliate for show, it executed a doctrine that America had no role in drafting. That's what unnerved them. Not the humiliation of Pakistan, they've seen that before, but the realization that India was now writing its own rules, with its own language, on its own terms. And the doctrine of dignified deterrence is not one that the West can easily categorize, because it doesn't follow Cold War templates or NATO playbooks. It's rooted in a civilizational ethos that says, we don't seek to dominate, but we refuse to be dominated. The military maneuvers were only the surface. Underneath was the architecture of a new era. This doctrine was not delivered through speeches, it was engineered in silence. From the Indian Space Research Organization, tracking enemy movement from 500 kilometers above Earth, to Bharat Electronics, coordinating secure communication networks faster than any foreign system, to private defense startups designing drone swarms and hypersonic simulation models, every corner of India was contributing to this silent rise. No imported blueprints, no borrowed defense policies, only indigenous frameworks refined through decades of learning. And when the moment came when India had to choose whether to speak or act, it chose both. It spoke through action, it acted through precision, and it delivered a humiliation that wasn't personal, it was principle-based. The principle that India would not be provoked into war, but it would not allow provocation to go unchallenged. The principle that India's strength isn't in how many targets it can hit, but in how few it needs to. The principle that control is not about holding back, it's about knowing when to unleash and when to outthink. India's dignified deterrence isn't about being passive. It's about choosing purpose over pride. Where other nations may rush to retaliate in anger, India waits and then moves with purpose. Purpose sharpened by satellites, hardened by intelligence, refined by algorithms. Every missile launched, every cyber command executed, every troop repositioned, it's all part of a calculus, not of revenge, but of results. This doctrine didn't come from textbooks. It came from centuries of experience with war, with occupation, with betrayal, with sacrifice. It's a doctrine forged in fire and polished by discipline. It understands the price of escalation. It understands that true victory lies not just in defeating the enemy, but in exposing the weakness of their strategy. When you bait India now, you don't get a reaction. You get reprogrammed. Pakistan, expecting the usual response, was left scrambling. Their narratives collapsed. Their international appeals found no traction. Their credibility plummeted, and India kept building. No celebration, no dramatic declarations, just more satellites launched, just more defense corridors inaugurated, just more youth trained in drone warfare, AI integration, and battlefield robotics. This doctrine even surprised India's own skeptics, because they had always seen India as the responder, the one always trying to prove its legitimacy. But now, India had stepped into a space where it didn't need to prove anything. It had become the standard. A standard not built on old war stories, but on new capabilities. That shift from reactive to proactive, from fragile to firm, from delayed to decisive, that was the transformation. A military doctrine not defined by aggression, but by assertion. Not driven by emotion, but by evolution. And this is where dignity becomes dangerous to your adversaries. Because when your enemy sees you calm, quiet, and confident, they can't read you. They panic. They overreach, and in that overreach they reveal their weakness. That's what happened. Pakistan overreached. India didn't respond emotionally. It responded methodically, and that method delivered humiliation not in front of cameras, but in the corridors of strategy rooms. India's dignified deterrence also serves as a warning, not a threat, but a truth that says, this is the last time provocation will be tolerated, because from now on, the cost of testing India will be calculated, clinical, and complete. And you won't even see it coming. It's not about loud warnings. It's about quiet consequences. The doctrine also aligns with a greater goal: peace through power, not peace through fear, not peace through appeasement, but peace through undeniable capability. When your enemy knows you can end the conflict before they start it, that's deterrence. And when you do that without losing your moral compass, that's dignity. This doctrine wasn't written in defense ministries alone. It was written across India in the hearts of young scientists, in the minds of cyber warriors, in the spirit of soldiers who no longer carry just rifles, but also software. India is no longer a soldier-heavy army. It's a knowledge-heavy force, and in that transformation lies the secret of its dignified deterrence. It is no longer about just border control. It's about narrative control. It's about perception management, and most importantly, it's about memory, because this moment where India refused to escalate, yet refused to be ignored, will be remembered by Pakistan, by America, by the world. And that memory will repeat every time someone tries to provoke again, because now they know this isn't the old India. This is an India that listens with satellites, responds with software, and finishes with systems. This is not escalation, this is evolution. It marked the beginning of a new age, where humiliation doesn't come from what you say, but from how flawlessly you prepare, where power isn't the loudest in the room, but the calmest, where deterrence isn't about scaring the enemy, but making them rethink ever trying again.